Suhas R. Joshi heads Sustainable and Business Stewardship South Asia at Bayer Group. Mr. Suhas is currently heading Bayer's carbon business in India. He is presently leading the development of Bayer's carbon farming venture. He has held senior positions in some of India's leading agriculture business companies with his experience ranging from sustainable development and marketing to strategic planning. He has hands on understanding of contract farming operations, setting up farm based supply chain, handling legal and ethical issues, and he will be sharing his knowledge on the topic sustainable as a business driver. Over to you, Mr. Suhas.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. Uh, 29 minutes I have. I try to finish my presentation or talk in, say, 25 minutes or little less than that, and then we can have question and answers. I try to finish my monologue as soon as possible. Gentlemen and ladies, I would be showing some charts, but select charts, not complete talk is driven by PowerPoint. Let me start with some interesting facts. Agriculture contributes to around, say, 20 to 25%, according to various estimates, to the global GHG gas emissions. So it's a very important contributor to the global warming. And within agriculture, the most important crop, particularly for South Asia and also for India, the rice crop contributes around 10 to 12% of total anthropogenic methane emissions. Now, why this is important? Because as most of you belong to sustainability community, you know there are three GHG gases: carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Methane is 28 times, say, more damaging, or 28 times the global warming potential is 28 for methane. And interestingly, there are very few sources of methane which can be influenced by current level of science and technology, which we can try to mitigate and significantly influence with our current understanding. There are very few sources, hardly, I would say, 5-6 sources which we can possibly influence. And within those 4-5 key sources, rice crop is a very important contributor, a important source, which we have a potential to work on. Now, why this crop is important? In Asia or globally, because Asia is a major rice producer, more than 150 million hectares of rice, hectares of land is under rice production, and within India, it's more than approximately 44 million hectares. And each hectare of rice, again, it could vary, but on an average, or say broadly, emits around 8 to 10 tons of CO2 equivalent per season. Now imagine the kind of emissions coming out of the paddy rice fields. Now, sustainability as a business driver topic given to us, and for me, rice is a very important business driver because we as a buyer group operate in two key business segments, that is pharmaceuticals and agriculture. And agriculture being very important vertical for us, the engagement with the rice crop, rice farmers becomes a key business driver for us. Now let me explain to you how does it impact us and what exactly we are doing, some examples, and then that is accompanied by talk. I hope my screen is visible. Can someone confirm, please?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes,
Okay,
visible.
excellent. Thank you. So we operate in three verticals: pharmaceuticals, which mainly prescription medication with focus on women's health care, cardiovascular diseases, oncology, neurology, hematology. Total annual revenue approximately say 17, 18 billion euros, approximately 40,000 employees. Another consumer health, annual revenue approximately 5, 6 billion euros and around 11,000 plus employees. And uh, key vertical is crop science. A world leader in agriculture, we are offering innovative solutions to the farmers. Annual revenue around 18 to 20 billion euros and say 30,000 plus employees working in crop science. Now, crop science, we engage with the farmers worldwide. And these farmers could be smallholder farmers in Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the large farmers in Australia, in Latin America, in US, and in Europe, who hold thousands of hectares of land. While in India, we have farmers who the holding would be 2, 3 hectares per family. Uh, and when we deal with farmers, we particularly deal in seeds, trades, crop protection, digital farming, and environmental solutions. Now, within this, when we deal with the farmers, it is very important that we build long-term and sustainable relationships with the farmers. This is a key success factor for us. And to build the long-term relationships, we always try to explore various opportunities, various avenues where we can engage with our customer base more strongly. And the opportunity we are currently exploring and working on that gives us a tremendous leverage and a chance to have additional engagement possibilities with our farmer customer, and that is carbon farming. Sustainability are goals. We are member of this we have the SBTI targets. We want to be 100% carbon neutral by 2030. And one of the very few companies where the executive compensation is tied to sustainability goals. Uh, and in addition to our carbon neutrality goals, there are three specific things we have decided to achieve as a part of our overall sustainability objectives that we call 30-30-100 goals. And that the first 30 in this is we want to reduce the GHG gas emissions in the crops we operate in. So that would mean the key crops where we deal in, one being rice, we would try to bring down the GHG gas emissions by 30%. And that's where the genesis of this carbon project, which I'm talking about. Agriculture is one of the most climate sensitive industry because the impact of global warming, the erratic rainfall, the change in temperature, that directly impacts crop production. If there is an erratic off-time rainfall, which could impact the crop in the field, if the temperature changes, the crop growth can be impacted, and therefore the income of the farmers, and in our country, the income of the smallholder farmers. So this industry is sensitive to climate change, and therefore it's important that we bring some focus to this sector when it comes to climate mitigation. Just some numbers to give you a broader perspective. McKinsey has estimated and forecasted that given the carbon neutrality targets of a number of big and medium-sized companies over the next 10, 20, 30 years, the demand for voluntary carbon credits will increase significantly, 15 times by 2030 and approximately more than 50 times by 2050. And to achieve the 1.5 degree warming target, we would require a huge supply of negative carbon emissions, in simple words, carbon offsets or carbon credits. And this presents us the opportunity to work in agriculture, work with the farmers in what we call as carbon farming. Here you can see on the left-hand side the estimated annual methane emissions in South Asia. You can see quite significant, second to China. And within that, 8.3% here are contributed by rice cultivation. Right-hand side, you can see the global emissions from top 10 contributing animal and plant-based foods. In plant-based, rice is on the top. Therefore, this crop is very important in order to reach our 1.5 degree or 2 degree goal. Why to focus on rice? It's the most important crop in South Asia, and anyone who is exposed to even a few agricultural farms who have seen some agricultural cultivation, rice cultivation, would know that rice is grown in around in say few inches of water. The water is always flooded, the field always remains flooded. The typical duration of rice crop is around 100 plus days, 120 days in a season. And every day farmer irrigates the farm in order to keep it flooded. Imagine the kind of water that is being used. Now, just to throw some statistics around here, the total available water in India, 80% of that is being consumed by agriculture. Only 10% approximately is being consumed by the industry. Another 10%, say domestic sector, the families and the domestic sector, 80% is consumed by agriculture. Within that 80%, 30 to 40% is consumed by paddy rice. Imagine out of 100, say for example, 100 liters of water, 100 billion or 100 square kilometers, whatever unit you take, 30 to 40% is consumed by paddy rice, which makes it very resource inefficient crop. And therefore, there is an opportunity, A, to reduce the GHG gas emissions in this crop, B, to reduce water consumption in this crop, C, a number of smallholder farmers are dependent on the crop, so their livelihood, the sustainable development goals, can also be significantly impacted if one works on this crop. And for us, a business driver for agricultural company, we build a very strong bond with our farmer customers in addition to our regular commercial operations and transactions. So what we are currently doing is we've been testing this model over the last 2 years. We believe that with reduction, introducing new cultivation practices which would reduce this flooding in the rice farms, one can reduce the GHG gas emissions by around 2 to 3 tons per hectare per season. And that change could be possible over 7 million hectares. Imagine yearly reduction in methane emissions from these 7 million hectares if we are able to reach this entire potential. Currently, we have covered in first year 3,000 and then 7,000, total 10,000 hectares. In coming years, we plan to cover hundreds of thousand hectares. And promoting certain water efficient and GHG efficient cultivation practices, which would reduce the emissions by 2 to 3 tons per hectare. Also, reducing water consumption and sustainable development, impacting SDGs. We have a strong capabilities on the ground. We have a strong network, and that would help us to reach this goal much faster and relatively easy. These are the SDGs we would be impacting through this project. A number of them would be impacted by simply focusing on one crop and one activity, that is promoting those practices, agricultural practices, which are water efficient and GHG efficient. By doing this, it's not only about GHG. It's not only about water, because farmer first has to survive. He has to become more profitable. His income has to improve. So by doing this, his productivity will improve. His cost of cultivation will reduce. That means profitability will improve. Climate adaptation would be encouraged, and there could be additional income from the carbon markets, carbon credits. How does this help everyone? This helps the government in achieving doubling farmers' income policy objective. It helps companies like us to strengthen partnerships with the state and central government. This could help us and all the stakeholders to advance sustainable agriculture-related policy objectives, policy decisions. And there is a trend which is clearly seen currently in Europe and US, where customers started preferring more carbon efficient foods, more sustainable food. And this helps our business, our industry, to also align our strategies, also align our work with the evolving customer preference.
How do you engage micro, small, and medium enterprises across your value chain?
Our one thing, we have a seed business, which is an important part of the crop science vertical. And that seed business, there are suppliers or our vendors are smallholder farmers. They produce seed for us. We help them to produce it. We buy it, we process it, and then we sell it in the market for the next crop. Now imagine small, medium enterprises. We are dealing with the smallest of possible enterprise. A farmer holding half an acre, 1 acre, 2 acre, potentially is the smallest of the enterprise and not focused upon by most of the industry. So this is the biggest engagement we have with the small enterprises and entrepreneurs. Of course, then there are a number of other small enterprises we work with at various levels of supply chain, but this is where the major engagement.
Thank you, sir, for your answers and your presentation.